Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for being here and for having me. It's an incredible privilege to get to work with Jim. I have a lot of respect for how far the life skills program's come under Jim's leadership, and Donna as well. So you guys are a great-looking group. I'm excited to get to know you. When you respond to something, if you could just tell me your name, that way I don't have to rely on my memory or my eyesight. So I do really love the name tags, so thank you. So we are going to be talking about career development. We're going to have a focus today on resume writing. How many of you brought your resume? Whoa, that is fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing those resumes. So you may find the last life skills, people didn't have their resumes yet. So you might find my stuff a little simplistic, but that's okay. We'll just kind of be a bit fluid. I do want to say thank you to Annarisa for joining us today. She owns the Express Employment Office. It's here in El Segundo. Wow. And so she has a great wealth of information. My background is mostly staffing and HR. I've been in staffing for 30 years. 20 years at one company and about 5 years with the Express franchises, so I know that I know the value that they bring. I got into HR and staffing by temping when I was in my 20s. A long time ago. But I'm so grateful for those opportunities. It introduced me to something that I didn't know or understand, and it really helped me to develop a great career in recruiting and HR and staffing. So a couple other quick questions I have for you. How many of you were born between 1981 and 2001? Put your keep them up. The majority of the room. Wow. Okay, wow. How many of you are what I would consider early career? You're in the 1 to 5 year period of your career. Your job, your work history. 1 to 5 years of your work history. Okay. How many of you mid-level? So 5 years or more. Okay, so a good mix. Awesome. I'm close to retirement, so I'm not in any of that category. But I do appreciate and remember very clearly what it was like to be in the early stages of developing what do I want to do with the rest of my life. You got a handout for me. It says building skills, careers, relationships. What you're doing right now in your life will affect the career that you have and will ultimately impact the relationships that you develop. So you have to take seriously whatever it is that you're doing right now. I'm going to run through this handout. I set myself a timer. Hopefully it'll ring when I've been talking too long. Building skills. What's a skill? What's the difference? Anybody tell me what's the difference between a hard skill and a soft skill? Yes, Jeffrey.
Soft skill would be writing poetry, and a hard skill would be like doing constructions or mechanics.
Okay. A hard skill, very simply, is something you can measure that you're good at. A soft skill is more of a trait. Okay? It's what I call emotional intelligence. In this market that we're in, many employers hire first for soft skills and then help train the hard skills. A hard skill might be your Microsoft Word skills. It might be how fast you type. It might be your construction skill. It might be the machine that you know in a manufacturing environment, or the inventory cycle count that you understand that I don't know anything about. So those are hard skills. So in this environment that we're in, you need to build your hard skills and your soft skills. And we're going to talk mostly about soft skills today because I think they're really underrated. And that's something in the church that you guys have a built-in mentoring program. You should have some of the best soft skills around. Every employer should want to hire you, honestly, because we have mentoring built right into our church situation. So you got to know yourself, right? You got to be able to communicate what you're good at. That's number one. Number two, be an exceptional employee. I appreciate what Andrew shared. Is Andrew? Earlier about Why they made him full-time was he was just a good employee. Be exceptional. An MSA. Before I came to Express, I never heard that term. Understand what your most significant accomplishment is in a particular job role. We're going to talk a little bit more about that and do a worksheet on that today. If you don't have any skills, if you're one of those people, I just don't have any skills. So, right here, 10 things that require zero talent. Right here. These are things you can control. Right? Yeah. We're going to talk some about those. Those are soft skills. That is a perfect example. Soft skills, things you can control. And then there's, hey, we need learning, right? Yep. I gave you a link on the handout to fill in your gaps with free. Wait, let me say that again. Free. Education's expensive, right? Oh, so here's free online learning. You know what environment we're in right now? I was just working at an Express office for the better part of last year. Almost every administrative job order that we got into the office, reception, data entry, basic entry-level job order, the client wanted somebody with Excel skills. Excel. How many of you know Excel? Wow. Good for you. I am not an Excel guru. I have had to learn Excel. So that's like, that was news to me. Are you seeing that too? Everybody wants Excel. We are in an Excel-dominant culture administratively. That's something you can learn online. Khan Academy, one of my favorite online academies. Okay, building careers. You know what? I have had a great career. I have had some incredible mentors. Two of my primary mentors are no longer with us in this world. I worked for the same CEO for 20 years. To this day, almost every day, I remember something that he said to me, did for me, a way he impacted my life. And I am so grateful that during that time I worked for him, I expressed gratitude to him over and over and over again. I often, when he would tell me to do something, I would follow up, tell him that what I did and what the result was, and thank him for that information. If you have a mentor in your life, take advantage of them. If you don't have a mentor, get one. Okay? They will change your life. Create raving fans. So you're in your career, you're in your work environment. Who knows what a raving fan is? Describe a raving fan for me.
Someone who consistently sings your praises about what you've done.
Sings your praises. Awesome. Do they remember you?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Jared.
I was just going to say enthusiastic.
Enthusiastic about you. Right. A raving fan is somebody who you wowed. Let me say that again. A raving fan is somebody who you wowed. I call that the wow factor. In business, in life, you got to look for those opportunities to wow somebody that they never forget you. Because recently I had to go back to some of my raving fans from 25 years ago. They were literally an email away. One email, hey, could you vouch for me in this area? No problem. Yeah, absolutely. Here's my current phone number. Some of them I hadn't actually spoken to in 5 years. Because they were a raving fan. So in whatever work you're in, if you're at school, you got to look for a way to stand out. Create a raving fan. I'll tell you a quick story. I was building business in Eugene, Oregon, and I was going after this big fish client. This big fish client gave me their first job order. I'd been pursuing them for 6 months. It was a hotel. They had a lot of business. The first job order was a dishwasher. I'm like, okay, I'll take it. I'll take a dishwasher, and I'm going to fill it and give you the most amazing dishwasher you've ever had. Yeah, so on the first day of the dishwasher's assignment on Friday night at 6 o'clock, she calls me and she's having a meltdown because it's so crazy busy and she can't do it and it's way too much and it's too hard and it's too hot and it's 6 o'clock on a Friday night and who are you going to get? Right, to go fill in as a dishwasher at a major hotel, right? So guess who filled in? Me. Became the dishwasher that night. I ended up getting the best meal of my life. I still remember it was prime rib. I learned something so amazing about the culture of that organization, and they learned something about me. And guess what? That skyrocketed to my best client in 3 years within that time period. Because I created a raving fan, right? Because I had this opportunity to say yes. Yes, I will go fill in. So, say yes. That's the next point. Look for an opportunity to say yes in your career. Say yes as much as you can. I know we're busy. Just say yes as often as you can when somebody asks you to do something. Network. Wherever you go, who do you know? Do you know how I got out to California? One of the express owners in Covina heard I was a free agent, and she reached out to me on social media, on my Facebook. I didn't even have Facebook till last year. That's how she got to me. That's how I got out to California. You know how I got out to Thousand Oaks and Ventura, where I get to see Jen and Richie every week? Somebody reached out to me. They heard I was available. You guys have to network. You have to make a friend wherever you go in business. Social media, it's a blessing and a curse. I love social media. You can find people, you can connect with people. But if your social media footprint is not positive, or it's too weighted in one area, it will completely alienate somebody from reaching out to you. Every hire I have made in the last 5 years, I have evaluated somebody's social media footprint. If your social media is all about, I'm going to say this in quotes, all about God, you're going to alienate some employers. Okay? If your social media is all about your cause, whatever you're like super passionate about, you're going to alienate somebody. You have to keep some balance. If you can't do that, then don't have one, honestly, in this generation. If your LinkedIn profile is not up to date and it doesn't align with your resume, then either change your resume or your LinkedIn profile, okay? Don't have one up that doesn't align with the skills that you're going to send to an employer. References, especially if you're early in your career, get letters. I know that's old school, but in this era, in California especially, it's very difficult to get a reference, a good reference. So get a letter, okay?
Right.
And then lastly, building relationships. It's a process. Build trust. Build trust. How do you build trust? How do you build trust? Jen. Transparency. Okay, openness. Jorge. Reliability. How is reliability shown? Richard.
Integrity. Like if you say you're going to do something, then you say it.
Right.
Like you start, then you do it.
Small or big?
It doesn't matter. Phrase it small or big.
That's right. You say you're going to do something, do it. I say under promise, over deliver. So Jim asked me to prepare, my handouts, and I told him I'd have them to him by Friday, right? Yeah. So I did get them done Thursday night. But what if I didn't do that? What if I showed up here this morning and said, "Oh, Jim, I'm so sorry. It's been a really hectic week. I've been traveling and blah, 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 blah." What would he think of me? I'm a professional, but what would he think of me? Yeah.
Someone who throws out excuses.
Somebody who throws. It doesn't matter what he thought of me up to this point.
Right.
That one instance when you don't follow through can wipe away a whole track record. So, under promise, over deliver. Okay? So if you're going to say yes, like I said earlier, make sure you follow through. Study up generational philosophies of your boss. So, people who are my age have a different management style than people that are mostly your age, right? So what books are from my generation? What are my philosophical books, do you think? Huh? I don't know that one, but I'll tell you. The 1 Minute Manager, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and How to Win Friends and Influence People. Those are my management. I would say they, kind of epitomize my management style. Get to know your employer. If they're my generation, I'm in my 50s. Get to know what do they expect. If they're in your generation, just get yourself familiar. Never ghost. Okay, ghosting is a new term to me. I hate it, and I hate it. Who knows what ghosting is? Michael.
Basically, disappearing. It's like out of the blue, disappearing.
How often do you see ghosting? Very frequently. It's a trend. I hate it. It's a terrible trend. And somebody in our life skills class, last time I was here, confessed to me the following session that she had an interview scheduled and she didn't go to her interview and she didn't call. I was like, what? What? That can't be. So ghosting is like you don't show up, you don't call. It's a trend. So change the trend, okay?
Yeah.
Take it upon yourself. Change the story. All right? Always. So I have 2 nevers, one never and 1 always. And I rarely do never and always. Never ghost. There's no reason you cannot call, text, email, send an SOS with your friend. I don't know what it, And always show gratitude and appreciation. The thank you is a lost art. That's all I'm going to say about that. Seek to understand before being understood and own your mistakes. We all make mistakes. Part of how I have been successful in this business is learning from my mistakes. And I have made a lot of them. From supporting a bank president and sending out wrong information in exits and I won't go into that, to overselling on my resume early in my career and getting fired because I couldn't really do what I said I could do. So, we all blow it, myself included. Okay, that was a quick, you guys can run through that later. Second worksheet, and I'm talking fast because I want to make sure that Annalisa has enough time. If you could take one. This is interactive. Oh, you can just pass it to me back there. So earlier, I said, if you don't have any skills, there are things that are in your control. We're going to do a little worksheet. We're going to take 5 minutes. Okay, a couple of comments then. What did you learn about yourself? Time for openness and vulnerability. Jeffrey.
For me, I think the one thing I really learned about myself is I need to be more time management. There are moments where I'm good at being on time for something, but there's other moments where I'm a couple minutes late. So I need to be more prepared on time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
For me, I was good at work ethic. I'm really good at working fast-paced with kids, whatever you want me to do. But flexibility was my struggle.
Okay.
Because it's hard when you have all these things to do, but you only have a little time to do it. So how are you going to flex it out?
Are you aware that that's something that is tough for you?
I think I was, but now I'm man, I gotta really kind of
Okay.
now.
Yeah. Part of this is not to make anybody feel bad. It's just inventory. It's God, I haven't really thought about how adaptable am I in my job situation or when somebody asks me to do something. What else? Yes. Would you
I
learn?
learned that because my flexibility leads to me failing to follow through. Sometimes taking on too much and I can't do it all.
Okay.
I wouldn't follow through.
Okay. Good. Under promise and over deliver. Yes.
I've noticed that a lot of these are really connected. If you're not good at time management, your work ethic probably isn't that good, and that might ruin your attitude. And then maybe you're not as coachable now. So it's a lot of these are really connected. And I realized that as I'm going through this, I think my weakest ones are work ethic and responsibility.
Okay.
I never had a lot growing up or anything like that. So it's now hitting me
sharing. Sometimes it's hard to realize maybe we didn't have mentoring and growing up. You know, I raised 2 daughters. Most of you guys probably know my daughters, Megan and Jenna. You know, I raised them with the understandings that I have, and they still have, you know, challenges. But if you didn't even have good parenting growing up, or you didn't have good expectations, these are things that we have to develop in ourselves.
Right.
So I appreciate your sharing that. Who else? Yeah.
I think I put a 3 for my patience.
Okay.
I feel like I'm pretty like impatient. Like personally, I think even at work, at work, I noticed that when it starts to get like, because I work at a drive-through Starbucks, like a cafe drive-through Starbucks, and so when it starts to get really busy, I start to get like really impatient with like if I'm making drinks or the person handing me the drinks, and I'm like, dude, hurry up, or I need to hurry up, you know, and it'll make me feel like insecure, you know. And stuff like that. So I started to think like I need to be more patient. Like if I mess up, it'll be like it'll kind of throw off my groove type thing.
It's good to be aware of it and then figure out a way to combat it. I love Starbucks training. Starbucks has one of the best training. I love hiring people from Starbucks because you learn how to provide customer service even when you're under the gun and there's 12 people in line. And I'm one of those people going, where's my drink? Where's my drink? Right? All right, thank you. Yeah.
Kind of like what George shared, sometimes I'll take on a little too much, which will sometimes like I'll get behind myself and I'm not able to like help like my own coworkers because they know like, who would you guys choose to help, you know, especially when it's like rush, when it's dinner time, it's Andrew because he always wants to help, but sometimes when I'm not able to, I just felt like, hey, I felt like I messed up.
Okay. And sometimes our strength can lead to a weakness like that. So I do appreciate that. I'm kind of an overachiever, which is a good thing and a not good thing because of that same reason. Then I end up, you know, under delivering. Yeah, back there. I can't read your name back here, so if you could just shout out.
So for me, I realized that it's kind of crazy. They all kind of connect for passion and empathy. I put a 3 because I feel like I work at Starbucks as well. And yeah, they train you like they're very particular about everything, which is really good. But I think for me, I just lack passion. Like I give my heart, I work hard, but it's like it's just Starbucks to me, you know. But I do.
Wait, what did you say? Did you say it's just Starbucks?
Yeah. So like I'm just like I'm passionate about like everything that like my manager, he's very like on top of everything. So I do give my I do work hard. I believe I have a good work ethic. I meet the standards. Well, I feel like I do. And he's training me to like train other baristas now. So now I feel like it calls me higher, you know. And which was the other thing, problem solving. So now like the new hires will come to me and I'm just like, let me go talk to my manager. I don't know, you know.
Great skills to be developing, though.
Yeah, so I think
Really
those
great
are the ones
skills.
that I found.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah, so it's cool because like when I saw the worksheet, it kind of just reminds me of like some of the convictions that I've had even before as a disciple, especially with like being like the time management is like a big thing to me. Like I hate being late. If I can be there like an hour early, I'll be there. Like usually I get to work like actually half an hour early just because like at least I'll be there. Like if they need me, I can, you know, go in early. But it also shows like a lot of the things that I've been trying to work on for myself. I mean, I work at Chick-fil-A, so a lot of patience, a lot of attitude.
Another great training company.
Yeah, like you have to be always positive.
Yeah.
Like you can't be like, you know, sassy or anything. Like sometimes I have a tendency to even feel about
That's good.
I don't know why you're talking to me like that. I mean, okay, what are you taking or no? It's just a lot of patience and empathy. Like, one of my managers actually talked to me about it. Like, we had like an interview with all like the my coworkers, and one of the things that I mentioned is compassion, because sometimes, you know, when we go to like places like that, we get mad, like I want my stuff, you know. But being behind the counter is like I understand. Like I have to empathize to them because I'm also a customer, but now I'm also the worker. So now I have to have that.
And I want to share with you, that your future self, 10 years from now is going to look back on the training you're getting right now and be, wow, that prepared me for ... I did a whole training on excellence, and Chick-fil-A was one of my case studies because the training is superb. So you might not realize it right now, but 10 years from now, you're going to look back and go, whoa, that really shaped me. So thank you for sharing. And somebody else, yes.
Well, I noticed that, like, I have a lot of compassion for other people. Like, I really want to do the most I can for people. And, like, even if they're, like, micromanaging and everything, just like, whew, God help her, she's having a tough time. But, at the same time, also not even really self-aware at all. Like, I'm really clumsy, I bump into things all the time.
Okay.
I don't know how to change that, but hopefully there's some kind of guidance there. But yeah.
Have you ever Googled it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you gotten any tips that way? Not
Just
really?
some things that I think are scams.
Okay. All right, let's not go there.
That's good.
But thank you for sharing. Yeah. Okay, 2 more. Yeah.
So I just want to share, since I work at Popeyes, and when I was in the hiring process, they were always like asking for particular set of skills, and they looked at, okay, is he a leader? Do you want to get hired in the company? Like, what are the things that that you want? And if you ask questions, they're even more intrigued about it. And then they give you a card, and the card it says our value says accountability, gratitude, humility, integrity, loyalty, positive attitude, quality, respect, and stewardship.
Perfect.
And then they always want us to have this in our wallets, so that when a customer stops us, they're like, oh, so what's Papa's all about? So,
Wow, that is so cool. I want to take a
Come
picture
on,
of that.
George.
That's mentoring right there. That's mentoring your employees of what you expect from them. That's fantastic. Classic, yeah.
Yeah, so my name is Walter, and I think for me, one of the things that I find is my leadership. I put it too, like, I'm afraid to be a leader because I can either be very hard, or I can be very soft and be run over. And so in my job, I actually help with managing physician schedules. So I deal with insurances and deal with patients. So I'm learning that I have to take more responsibility and lead and make tough decisions. Like, that I can center between, can this patient get this exam right now, or does he have to wait 2 weeks and come back, or something like that. So it's been kind of putting me in a position where I do want to be a leader and learn how to do that, but I'm learning that I can be very timid and afraid to take that responsibility because of that risk, you know what I mean? So especially like in this job that I have to learn how to basically lead and make a decision and basically work with a physician who's always running around. Actually like multiple physicians who may not be able to respond, so I have to make a decision right there and there. And I think for me, that's one of the issues that I have a hard time dealing with, is how to balance it where I can lead and take responsibility, but at the same time, not be too harsh or not be too easy run over by someone else. Because I can be like a pushover and whatnot and be kind of. So there's really that balance.
Do you have a mentor at work, somebody that gives you honest feedback?
Not per se yet.
Okay,
So I'm trying to find someone who can do that, but and then trying to find someone who can give me a balance as well. Like, because sometimes some people give you like a harsh response, and some give you like, oh, I'm not really sure. So kind of really finding.
Well, and if somebody's not available, then look for somebody who exhibits the interactive skills that you really want to develop, and just try to get yourself around them and see how do they handle those same stresses. Okay, we're going to move on, and because I really want to spend some time on their resume today, and I look forward to seeing everybody's resume that you brought. So if some of these are repetitive, maybe pull out your resume and kind of take the first one that says resume workshop and begin looking at your resume in comparison to some of these tips. I am not a fan, personally, having been a recruiter for 30 years, I am not a fan of an overly sophisticated resume, a resume that has too many graphics in it, a resume that is, I'm not even a fan of the Google Drive resumes that you send where you have to click on a link. because sometimes they're hard to get to. I am a big fan of a very simple, I'm going to show you some samples. There's a plethora of resumes on the internet you can get to. Just don't overthink it. Don't overcomplicate it. And we're going to talk about what should be on a resume. Most of you should be able to keep your resume to one page. I have 2 of my own resumes up here. I have probably 10 resumes. I have 2 up here. One's a 2-pager, one's a 1-pager. So even me with a 30-year career, I can fit all my stuff on 1 page. Okay? Usually when it's just for a specific type of job. So keep it simple. I'm a fan of Word docs, and here's why. If you're working with a recruiter like me, I always want to make some edits on your resume. Always. Most resumes have weird things. They have typos, they have weird email addresses. I mean, there's as a recruiter, if you're working with someone, make sure you give it to them in a Word document, okay? The other reason it's so important to have your resume in Word is 95% of our environments are Word. And we are in a technology generation, whereas if you're applying to a mid-size or a large company through what's called an ATS system. Who knows what an ATS is? That is an applicant tracking system. So you know when you go to apply to a job and it says apply here? Right? They're putting you into their ATS. If you upload your resume in a PDF form, they cannot search on it. Okay? It's that simple. So a Word document is searchable. If you want somebody to be able to find you later because of skills that are on your resume, you have to make your resume searchable. Does that make sense? Yes. If you're talking with somebody directly, like I was talking to Jim, I sent him the handouts. Word is a little funky, okay, depending. I have a really old laptop. I have an old Word on there. So I sent it to him in Word in case he wanted to make some edits. And I sent it to him in a PDF to keep the formatting clean. So if you're speaking directly with somebody and they're just going to forward your resume, a PDF's good because you know it's going to show up the way you sent it. But if you just want it to be searchable, then be aware of that. My number 1, proofread, proofread, proofread. You cannot proofread your resume enough. Typos are a killer. I can't stand it when somebody applies to one of our admin jobs and they say attention to detail and then they got typos all over their resume. It's just a deal breaker, okay? So I have people proof my own resumes. I saw a typo in my own resume that I did quickly. So, you know, we all make mistakes. Just try to combat that. What you just did with your soft skills, those are your strengths. The ones that are your 5s, those should be reflected somewhere on your resume, okay, in a soft skills section. And you want to highlight that because guess what? Not everybody has leadership skills. Not everybody is punctual and timely. Hard skills, certainly any special traits, special skills, anything you can do that is like something you've learned or been trained on or is measurable, you want to get that on your resume somewhere if the job you're applying to is going to benefit from that skill. Don't put skills on your resume that have nothing to do with the job you're applying to, okay? Just takes up room. We talked about soft skills. Your MSA, we're going to talk about that in a minute. You want to have something from every job you've been at that is quantifiable. I'm going to give you some examples. Even if you're working at Chick-fil-A or Starbucks or Popeyes, you can quantify the number of people that you serve, the number of customer service reviews or positive feedback. I mean, you can quantify almost anything. You want that to be in your resume somewhere. Your employment history and your volunteerism, okay? Volunteerism has a place, especially if you don't have very much job history. Please do not put personal information on your resume. I don't care if you're married. Sometimes it can be a deal breaker. There is so much discrimination that happens when somebody looks at your resume. I don't care if you have kids. I care. That's bad. I'm so cold-hearted. I just mean as a recruiter. It doesn't matter. Never put your photo on there. We in Oregon had to reject resumes that had photos because they are potentially discriminatory. Do not put anything on your resume that is has the potential for somebody to discriminate against you. I don't have anywhere on my resume that says how old I am. I don't have all my history on my resume because I don't want somebody to think I'm 60 and I started working when I was really young. And I'm like, I'm a young 60, right? I'm not 60 yet, no. Use empowered adjectives. I've given you guys some specifics. So we got to get rid of the old stale words. Even when I was reading my resume, I was like, oh, dang, I have a bunch of old stale words on here that I need to freshen up myself. And so here's just some simple things that you can replace words on your resume with some better adjectives and verbs. And you want to customize it for a job. I'm going to show you a little bit about that. Chronological or by industry. I don't know where this started, but some people start with their first job and then their most recent job is somewhere down on the second page. Please don't do that. Chronological, most recent first, back down to, however far you want to go. Use bullet points. Even I noticed on my resume, there's too much language on there. I haven't edited my own in some time, so I'm going to show you what not to do on my own resume. I already mentioned the LinkedIn profile. Be honest and smart. And I did mention how I lost a job because I oversold what I could do. It was in a law firm, and I was not a paralegal, and I claimed to be one. So I was a legal secretary, a legal assistant, but it wasn't the same. Somebody caught on very quickly. 3 months in. Okay. So this is a resume worksheet. Now this is very simple because I wasn't expecting you to show up with your resume. So I'm going to just show you a couple. This is a very simple, basic resume of somebody who only has a couple years of experience. They are currently working in a warehouse environment, but they don't want to be in a warehouse environment. Okay? Any of you working somewhere that you prefer not to be long term? Right. So you have to draw out some skills that you have that you think are going to be relevant to the job that you want. Okay, and so, again, I'm a fan of the very simple resume, one page. Name, phone, I don't even put an address on mine. I just put my phone and my email. But your phone and your email should be easy to find, like super simple. Don't make a search for it. So this person is working in a warehouse environment. I don't know if you can see all of that, but so remember I mentioned the MSA. So on the resume worksheet, we're looking for some soft skills. Okay, these are soft skills right here. These are hard skills. I call them skills and qualifications. And then you should have some job history. Okay, and in the job history, it's responsibilities, it's what you did, but it's what you accomplished, okay? So this person, now you may say, well, they're just working in a warehouse. There's some awesome skills that you learn in working in a warehouse. And warehouse workers are in demand. Good ones are in demand and get promoted very quickly. So these are some ideas around an MSA. So last 2 sentences of the first job description says, actually 3, maintain back stock room of more than 10,000 SKUs, okay? Quantifiable. Consistently identified defective product prior to shipping, performed accurate inventory cycle counts, and contributed to 20% reduction in product returns. That's what I call an MSA. That's actually what Express calls an MSA. Does that make sense? That should be somewhere in your job history. Last one down here, within the first month, because they've only been there a short time, improved per unit restocking by 15%. So we're going to take a couple of minutes, and I want you to work on the worksheet that I gave you specifically on your MSA. If there's not something on your resume that says, what did you accomplish there? Like, start brainstorming with your team, okay? A couple of minutes. Okay, so the first resume was entry level, early level. This is still one page, but it is, I would say, mid-level. And there's a few things I want to just share with you here. We've got her soft skills at the top, her actual hard skills in the center, and then she has some areas of expertise that she really wanted to draw out. So, you know, there's probably too many on there, to be honest, but it just gives you an idea of people want to know what you're good at, how you see yourself, what your skills are, and they want to see your job history. So if your resume is too weighted one or the other on the first page, guess what? A lot of times the person reviewing your resume never gets to the second page. Okay? So you really want to just be compact and concise. This is important because she had progression of responsibility with the same company, and you want to see it. You want to highlight that with a new employer, that she was trusted to move into increasingly responsible roles. And then we had some other, kind of development roles underneath. I'm a fan of putting the dates to the side unless you have really poor job history. So if you've bounced around, do not put your dates like that because it's very obvious. Where I put dates, if somebody's bounced around a lot, is I put them at the bottom in parentheses. So you have to look for them, okay? They're there, and you're being honest, but they're not something that somebody's going to make a judgment about you that you had 6 jobs in the last year. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Sometimes also I will, what's the word I'm looking? I'll compile like work. So if, say, you've worked at 3 fast food places, then I'll say customer service jobs 2016 to 2018, and then I'll list the companies that worked at, okay? So there's ways, if you're ashamed of your job history, or if you've moved around a lot, or whatever the reason is, then get some input about how to show it on your resume so somebody doesn't ding you for it, okay? Any questions on this resume? I put education at the end. Most employers right now, unless you just graduated from college, a 4-year college, within the last probably 2 to 5 years, I put education at the bottom because employers are not hiring for your education right now. They're hiring for your soft skills and what skill can you bring to the organization. And companies are actually getting less interested. I'm seeing it more on job postings. They're getting less interested in the degree and more interested in your actual experience. Okay, make sense? And then this resume is a sample resume of somebody that had this done by a resume expert. This is what I call a career resume, okay? It shows what your career interest is, it shows what you've done, and then highlights of your experience and accomplishments. Whoops. It's a little wordy for my taste overall, but I like the layout and I like it for a career resume. It has some bullets, it has some good use of color. So if you're looking to, if you have a lot of experience, it's still 2 pages, okay? And then the next resume is, if I can just get to it. There it is. So this is what I call my simple recruiting resume. So I can be a little outdated. I've been in the industry for a long time, so I have to sound fresh. And I got some input from somebody. And so I came, and I'm not a big fan of summary or objective either because it limits you, but I was looking for a specific kind of recruiting job. And so somebody helped me. I said, a recruiter by nature, I'm a true matchmaker, and I've had some cool success finding talent and building teams. Currently looking for my next opportunity to grow revenue through hiring the right people. So that was a little fresher than what I had. And what I did is I downplayed my background. So this background, I just did some bullets on what I was good at and then gave my work experience because it kind of spoke for itself. And I only went back to 2000. So some of my resumes that are full go back, I've been in the workforce longer than 2000. It's really not necessary to go back further than that. Okay? Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's kind of my simple one-pager that's a little, and I got a lot of hits from this resume. I was like, wow, that person knew what they were talking about. I got advice too. And then this is a more elaborate resume that I have that's still 2 pages, because in my business, I can go in a lot of directions. I can do biz dev, I can do recruiting, I can do sales, which is biz dev, I can do HR. So still, again, 2 pages. If you're a professional, you should have some accomplishments. So I am a fan. You don't have to brag about yourself. Your resume shouldn't be like, I'm amazing, I'm incredible. Let them figure that out by showing your experiences. In my MSAs, I think I put them in my... So here I said I tripled business in 3 years. Down here I said I grew the division from negative performance to consistent number 2 out of 40 TEGs of the TEG family of companies. You want to give it something. I think some of mine, I say I grew our sales to 10 million. It just depends on who I am responding to. So your resume should be tailored and catered to the job that you're responding to. Okay? Wow, we're doing good. Questions? Thoughts? Yeah.
You know how you said it has to be tailored to the job you're applying to? So do you leave out certain like work history? Or do you put
I don't leave it out, but I just minimize it. It depends on what the work history is. So I did a bunch of consulting in here, so I said, I just combined it. I said Life Technologies, Thermo Fisher, Legal Staff, Portland General Electric, and I combined it into one. So that's what I do with history. You don't want to lie. You don't want to fabricate. You definitely don't want to mislead an employer. But there's ways to couch it so it's not so obvious. Other thoughts, questions? Yeah.
So in areas where it's not necessarily an employer, but you're doing more I'll say a freelance type of like personal training, for instance. You're doing more freelance. How would you resume to a person? How would you give a resume to a person? It's not an employer, but what would you present to a person that's like?
I have a LinkedIn profile, and I'd send them to my LinkedIn.
Okay, so send them to your social media profile.
Absolutely. LinkedIn. Yeah. Next week, we're going to talk a lot about Indeed. How many of you guys use Indeed for job searching? How many of you get automatic alerts from your Indeed account? Cool. Okay, awesome. That's a big improvement from the last class. And that's a good question, though. So if it's something one-on-one, then send them to your LinkedIn so they can see, or if you have a list of representative clients. Okay? Anybody else? Yeah.
What if, for example, I had my work history as far as working with fast food and stuff like that. What if I want to, for example, since I'm going out to SF in the fall time, and I'm thinking about going to banking.
Perfect.
How would I go about incorporating skills what I've learned over the course of the past few years to banking?
So I go back to this resume. Remember the person who was in the warehouse? I had a conversation with her. She wants to work in a law firm. So what we did was we took the attention to detail. We showed that information on her resume, highlighted it, and then we put it into an objective that she wants to use her attention to detail and compulsion for accuracy to pursue an entry-level file clerk. So what you want to do is draw out of your resume customer service. You've been in fast food. You don't learn customer service anywhere like you learn it doing fast food. So you want to stop calling it fast food. Call it, hey, I've been in a customer. Just get yourself used to saying that. I've been serving customers. I'm in a customer service role. I've learned how to problem solve customer issues. Those are all things that are relevant to a banking job, right? Right, Jim?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I got 2 minutes.
What about for internships? Looking at get hired for internships.
Internships are awesome. A lot of times you get those by stopping by and introducing yourself and showing that you have people skills. Some of them you get by reaching out to people on LinkedIn. Anything that you've done that's relevant to that internship, you want it to show in your resume, okay? Internships, apprenticeships, those are all really important. I'm a fan of the informational interview because that sometimes can lead to, if you just say, hey, I'd love to just get 15 minutes of your time to do an informational interview with you, okay? Last, yeah.
So what if you're trying to tailor your resume towards like a specific job, but because for me, like a lot of the things that my work history are not really tailored to the job that I want, and most of them are voluntary experiences.
Then you got to get your volunteering on your resume to show that has some substance, and then refer to it in your objective, okay? Because we all have some component. I told you I got my, start in staffing by temping. So, and I know Anna Risa is going to talk a little bit about making that connection of taking jobs that maybe aren't exactly what you're looking for to build your skill set. Okay. Awesome, guys. Thanks for participating. Next week we will talk about interviewing, and what I would love to see is if you feel like you need to revise your resume, on your resumes that I just had a quick peek at, some of them were too long and wordy, okay? Some of them didn't have clean spaces, so you should have the exact same amount of space between jobs at the top that you have at the bottom. I'm not a fan of red. Red brings like a negative response from a recruiter. Green, blue, purple, anything but red, okay? So yeah, if you want some specific input on your resume, get your skills at the top, get your experience on there, and any kind of education, okay? Thank you.